Americans are swarming dealerships to grab these 5 motorcycles, like their lives depend on it. And nobody knows why. Sales are exploding, wait lists are growing, and the industry is scrambling to keep up. In this video, we uncover the shocking reason behind the sudden obsession with these 5 bikes, and why you need to act quick if you want a piece of the pie. We're starting with number 5, the Harley-Davidson Sportster S. The Harley-Davidson Sportster S has the personality of an American muscle car that learned how to corner, got a PhD in modern technology, and decided that tradition is only worth preserving if you can make it better through superior engineering and actual innovation. This isn't just a Harley, it's what happens when America's most iconic motorcycle company finally decides to build something that can compete with the rest of the world while still sounding like freedom and looking like $1 million. This 1,252cc liquid-cooled DOHC V-twin delivers 121 horsepower at 7,500 RPM and 94 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM through a package that weighs 502 pounds wet. But the real shock is that it's actually a modern motorcycle that happens to have a Harley badge instead of a museum piece that someone taught to start occasionally. At $14,999 MSRP, the Sportster S costs less than most traditional Harleys, but delivers more actual performance than the entire Sportster lineup managed in the previous 3 decades. The Revolution Max 1250 engine represents the most significant technological advancement in Harley-Davidson's recent history. This isn't just a new engine, it's proof that American motorcycle engineering can compete with the best in the world when it's not constrained by outdated traditions and marketing department requirements. The engine features dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, and liquid cooling, technologies that other manufacturers have been using for decades, but Harley had stubbornly refused to adopt. Americans are buying Sportster S motorcycles because it's what happens when Harley-Davidson finally admits that their customers deserve motorcycles that work as well as they look and sound. The Revolution Max engine has the personality of someone who respects American tradition, but isn't afraid to improve on it using modern technology, liquid cooling, and engineering principles that were developed after the Carter administration. The engine produces a flat torque curve that delivers usable power from idle to redline, with 80% of peak torque available from 3 to 9,000 RPM. The Sportster S also features modern electronics that actually work properly, including lean-sensitive ABS, traction control, wheelie control, and multiple riding modes. These aren't just marketing features, they're practical systems that make the bike safer and more enjoyable to ride in real-world conditions. The bike's chassis uses a steel trellis frame that's both lighter and stiffer than traditional Harley frames, while the fully adjustable suspension provides performance that rivals dedicated sport bikes. What makes the Sportster S particularly significant in American motorcycle culture is that it proves Harley-Davidson can build world-class motorcycles when they choose to prioritize engineering over nostalgia. The bike sounds unmistakably like a Harley, thanks to the 60-degree V-twin configuration, but it performs like a modern motorcycle should. It's fast enough to embarrass sport bikes in a straight line, handles well enough to be fun on twisty roads, and reliable enough to use as daily transportation. The Sportster S represents everything Americans have been waiting for from Harley-Davidson: the sound, the style, and the heritage they love, combined with reliability, performance, and technology that actually works in the modern world. It's the bike equivalent of finding out your favorite classic rock band just released their best album in 40 years, and it somehow sounds both timeless and completely contemporary. If you think this reformed bad boy is the only bike selling like hotcakes, just wait for number 4. Dealers are struggling extremely hard to keep this one in stock. The Yamaha MT07 has the personality of that friend who's always up for anything, never complains, and somehow makes every ordinary day feel like an adventure worth remembering. This bike doesn't just perform, it transforms mundane American commuting into a daily celebration of what motorcycles were always meant to be before everyone got obsessed with looking fast instead of actually having fun. It's like someone distilled pure motorcycle joy into liquid form and then built a bike around it. This 689cc SIA liquid-cooled DOHC parallel twin delivers 74 horsepower at 9,000 RPM and 50 pound-feet of torque at 6,500 RPM through a package that weighs just 403 pounds wet, creating a power-to-weight ratio that has the personality of concentrated joy with a master's degree in practical fun and a minor in making every ride feel like a victory lap. At $7,699 MSRP, the MT07 costs less than most Americans spend on their monthly car payments, but delivers more daily happiness than a promotion, a raise, and a 3-day weekend combined. The serious engineering behind the MT07's American success lies in Yamaha's understanding of what actually makes motorcycles fun to ride. While other manufacturers were chasing horsepower numbers and top speed statistics, Yamaha focused on creating an engine character that rewards interaction and engagement. The 270-degree crank configuration gives the parallel twin an irregular firing order that creates a unique sound and feel that's more engaging than a traditional 360-degree parallel twin, but more manageable than a V-twin. Americans are buying MT07s because it's what happens when someone builds a motorcycle that prioritizes fun over fashion, substance over style, and actual riding enjoyment over Instagram photo opportunities. The parallel twin engine has the personality of someone who shows up to every party, makes everyone feel welcome, and somehow makes ordinary Tuesday afternoons feel like weekend adventures. The bike's lightweight chassis and upright riding position make it equally comfortable in city traffic and on winding back roads, while the linear power delivery means you can use all the performance without needing professional racing skills. The MT7's impact on American motorcycle culture has been profound because it's reminded riders what motorcycles are supposed to feel like. In an era where many bikes have become so powerful and sophisticated that they're intimidating to ride at normal speeds, the MT07 provides performance that's accessible and enjoyable at legal speeds. You can actually use all 74 horsepower without risking jail time or death, which makes every ride more engaging and satisfying. The bike's naked design philosophy also reflects a broader American trend toward authenticity and functionality over superficial styling. Americans are increasingly attracted to products that are honest about what they are and what they do, without unnecessary complexity or pretension. The MT07 doesn't pretend to be a race bike or a touring machine. It's simply a great motorcycle that happens to be excellent at making every ride enjoyable. If you thought that bike was flying off the shelves, number 3 is the overachieving adventure beast that's got Americans trading their vacation budgets for something that turns the entire continent into their personal playground. The BMW R 1250 GS has the personality of a National Geographic photographer who also happens to be a mechanical engineer with unlimited vacation time and a personal vendetta against the concept of impassable terrain. This bike doesn't just go places. It redefines what Americans think is possible when you combine superior technology with the fundamental human need to explore everything and go everywhere. It's the motorcycle equivalent of having a Swiss Army knife that's also a rocket ship. This 1,254cc liquid-cooled DOHC boxer twin delivers 136 horsepower at 7,750 RPM and 105 pound-feet of torque at 6,250 RPM through a package that weighs 549 pounds wet. But the real magic is in its ability to make Americans realize that adventure riding isn't just for people with trust funds and unlimited time off. At $17,895 MSRP, the R1250GS costs less than most Americans spend on their annual vacation budget, but delivers more adventure potential than a lifetime of resort bookings and guided tours. The serious story behind the R1250GS's American popularity is that it represents a fundamental shift in how Americans think about motorcycles and travel. For decades, American riders were conditioned to believe that motorcycles were either for commuting, weekend cruising, or track days. The concept of using a motorcycle as a legitimate tool for serious exploration was largely foreign to American motorcycle culture. The R1250 GS changed that by proving that a single motorcycle could handle everything from daily commuting to transcontinental adventure touring. Americans are buying R1250 GSs because it's the bike equivalent of discovering that the entire continent is your personal playground, and that traffic jams are optional when you have the right equipment and proper German engineering. The Boxer twin engine has the personality of someone who looks at maps as suggestions rather than limitations, and believes that the best roads are often the ones that don't appear on GPS systems. The engine's unique design, with cylinders sticking out horizontally, provides perfect cooling airflow and a low center of gravity that makes the bike feel much lighter than its actual weight. The R1250 GS also represents a technological leap that American manufacturers haven't been able to match. The shift cam variable valve timing system adjusts valve timing and lift based on engine speed and load, optimizing performance across the entire RPM range. The dynamic ESA electronic suspension automatically adjusts damping based on riding conditions, load, and riding mode. These aren't just fancy features. They're practical solutions to real-world riding challenges that make the bike genuinely better at everything it does. What's particularly impressive about the Pioneer 1250 GS's American success is that it's converting riders who never considered adventure touring before. Americans are discovering that having a motorcycle capable of handling any terrain or weather condition provides a level of freedom and confidence that transforms how they think about travel and exploration. It's not just about going off-road. It's about knowing you can handle whatever conditions you encounter, whether that's a sudden rainstorm, construction detours, or the decision to take that interesting dirt road you just noticed. If you thought that adventure-hungry overachiever was popular, number 2 is the smooth-talking charmer that's seducing cruiser riders away from their old flames faster than a craft brewery owner with a PhD in making everything better. The Honda Rebel 1100 has the personality of a craft brewery owner who also happens to be a mechanical genius with a PhD in making traditional things better through the application of superior technology and complete disregard for "that's how we've always done it." This bike doesn't just cruise. It revolutionizes the entire concept of what American cruising should feel like in the 21st century. It's like someone took a Harley-Davidson, sent it to engineering school, and taught it how to actually work properly. This 1084cc liquid-cooled DOHC parallel twin delivers 87 horsepower at 7,000 RPM through a package that weighs 487 pounds wet. But the real magic is in its ability to make traditional Harley riders question everything they thought they knew about torque, reliability, and the relationship between price and performance. At $9,299 MSRP, the Rebel 1100 costs less than most Harley accessories, but delivers more innovation than the entire American motorcycle industry managed in the previous decade. The serious reality behind the Rebel 1100 American success is that Honda has essentially solved the cruiser equation that American manufacturers have been struggling with for decades. How do you build a bike that looks and feels like a traditional American cruiser, but actually works like a modern motorcycle? The answer, apparently, is to start with Japanese reliability, add modern technology, and then style it to look like what Americans think cruisers should look like, rather than what they've traditionally been forced to accept. Americans are buying Rebel 1100s because it's what happens when someone takes the best parts of American cruiser culture and combines them with Japanese reliability, modern technology, and a price point that doesn't require a second mortgage or a conversation with your financial advisor about retirement planning. The parallel twin engine has the personality of someone who respects tradition, but isn't afraid to improve on it using superior engineering and actual innovation. It produces 72 pound-feet of torque at just 4,750 revolutions per minute, which means it pulls like a traditional V-twin but without the vibration, maintenance requirements, or tendency to leave oil stains on your driveway. The Rebel 1100 also comes with features that American cruiser riders have been begging for, but never getting: ABS, traction control, multiple riding modes, and a DCT automatic transmission option that actually works properly. It's like Honda looked at the American cruiser market and said, "What if we built a bike that had all the style you want, but none of the problems you've been trained to accept as normal?" The cultural impact of the Rebel 1100 in America cannot be overstated. It's forcing traditional American motorcycle manufacturers to confront the uncomfortable reality that their customers have been settling for inferior products simply because they didn't have better options. The Rebel 1100 proves that you can have authentic cruiser style without sacrificing reliability, performance, or your financial stability. We've reached number 1, and this bike isn't just selling fast, it's vanishing like it's being hoarded for the apocalypse. So what's going on? Why is every American scrambling to get their hands on it? The Kawasaki Z650 is the motorcycle equivalent of that friend who's genuinely fun to hang out with, but won't get you arrested or divorced. The Z650 has the personality of a golden retriever that learned how to ride motorcycles. Enthusiastic, approachable, and absolutely committed to making sure everyone has a good time without requiring therapy afterward. It's the bike your responsible adult self would choose if your responsible adult self was actually fun at parties. The 649cc liquid-cooled DOHC parallel twin delivers 67 horsepower at 8,000 RPM through a package that weighs just 410 pounds wet, creating a power-to-weight ratio that has the personality of concentrated fun with a college degree in practical decision-making. At $7,399 MSRP, the Z650 costs less than most Americans spend on their morning coffee addiction over 2 years, but delivers more daily joy than a lottery winner's first week of freedom. But here's the serious part that's driving American sales. The Z650 represents everything that's been missing from the American motorcycle market for decades. While other manufacturers were busy building bikes that required a mechanical engineering degree to maintain and a trust fund to purchase, Kawasaki built something that actually works for real people, with real budgets and real lives. The parallel twin engine produces a torque curve that's flatter than Kansas, delivering usable power from 3,000 RPM all the way to redline, which means you can actually use the performance without needing a racetrack or a death wish. Americans are buying Z650s because it's the bike equivalent of finding out your responsible friend is actually secretly hilarious and knows how to have a good time without ending up on the evening news. The parallel twin engine has the personality of someone who shows up to work on time, pays their taxes, but also knows exactly where to find the best tacos at 2 a.m. and isn't afraid to take the scenic route to get there. It's reliable enough to commute on, fun enough to weekend with, and affordable enough that you won't have to explain to your spouse why the motorcycle payment is larger than the mortgage. The Z650's success in America also reflects a broader cultural shift toward practicality, without sacrificing enjoyment. American riders are finally realizing that you don't need 200 horsepower to have fun on public roads where the speed limit is 35 miles per hour, and there's a Starbucks every 3 blocks. The Z650 makes 67 horsepower feel like exactly the right amount, enough to be exciting, not enough to be stupid, and perfectly calibrated for American riding conditions where the biggest adventure is usually finding a parking spot at the mall. The Z650's cultural impact extends beyond just being an affordable motorcycle. It's proving that fun doesn't have to be expensive, complicated, or dangerous. In a market where manufacturers have been convincing riders that they need more power, more technology, and more money to enjoy motorcycling, the Z650 demonstrates that sometimes less is actually more. It's the antidote to the horsepower wars that have made motorcycles increasingly inaccessible to normal people with normal incomes. What's particularly impressive about the Z650's American success is how it's attracting new riders to motorcycling. The combination of approachable power, reasonable price, and bulletproof reliability is making motorcycles accessible to people who previously thought they were too expensive, too complicated, or too intimidating. This isn't just converting riders from other brands. It's expanding the entire market by proving that motorcycles can be practical transportation that happens to be incredibly fun.